right, so we're here on Game Changers Live with Tom Ziglar, and Tom is, if the name rings a bell, it's because you've probably heard of his father, Zig Ziglar, and Tom keeps the inspiration going, right? The tradition, the legacy of Zig Ziglar in Ziglar Inc. Tom is a renowned speaker himself and author of a fantastic book called Choose to Win, which you really need to read this right now, especially during these times where we need to fortify our thinking, fortify our minds. And we're going to talk to him about his experience growing up, about about Ziglar Inc. right now, what they're doing, some of the amazing things they're doing to continue the legacy that his father started, as well as some of the really important lessons. One of the keys to success that Tom will share about. So, Tom, welcome to Game Changers Live, my friend.
Well, Sergio, it's great to be here. An honor and a privilege, and let's have some fun.
All right, so fantastic. So, Tom, you've grown up. In your book, one of the things you mentioned that you have 50 years of leadership experience, right? Yet you don't look 85 years old. And so, what was it like growing up with one of the most inspirational people as your father, and family dinners and just some of the things that you learned and your family learned growing up?
You bet. Well, incredibly blessed. Of course, my father being Zig Ziglar. I'm 55 now, so I tell people I've been in the business for 55 years because I was raised in it. And as good as dad was on stage, he was even better off stage. Just an amazing example, very intentional, a little bit of an introvert at home, which kind of surprises
Really?
people. Yep,
Wow.
but very intentional in everything that he did.
Wow. And so one of what were some of the key lessons, so to speak, that you learned up growing up that some was like a game changer, but a bit of an aha moment for you as a child?
Well, dad being a motivational speaker and as well as having an extensive sales background, and then really dug deep into personal development. What is success? How do you become more successful? Uh, as I grew, I realized that he was really leading me and teaching me through the questions he would ask. And I remember I was in college. I was playing college golf, and I come home and it's summertime, and I've got my whole schedule lined out for tournaments, for practice. I had ambition. I wanted to see how far I could go. And I come into the house, and dad's there, and he looks at me and he says, "Son, I need you to do a favor for your mom and I. We're going to leave in a few weeks. We're going to go to Australia. We'll be gone about a month, and we need you to take care of the house." And so I looked at
How old were you?
dad and realized, wait a second, those bags are heavy and those Australians are mean. They need some protection. They need a 20-year-old young man there to guard them and carry those bags. And so I made my plea and said, "Hey, I need to come with you." And dad looked at me and he said, "Well, son, is your goal still to make it to the PGA Tour?" And I said, "Well, yes, it is." And he said, "Well, son, do you still have your whole summer lined out, tournaments and practice and all the things?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, if you go to Australia with us, will that take you closer to or further from your goal of being on the PGA Tour?" And
Wow.
it was like, it was a ninja, it was a
Right. That
ninja
ninja
move.
approach, right?
Right. And because he knew what I wanted most at that time in my life, and he knew how to make me think through, wait, is this a good decision or not? So
Yeah.
that's what he did. And the other message that he gave us all the time is he said, "You know what, whatever you choose to do," and he told my sisters this as well, "Whatever you choose to do, I'm going to support it 100%.
Hmm.
Just two requirements: do it with 100% integrity and 100% effort." And what a great
What a
lesson
great lesson.
to
Yeah.
teach your kids of any age. So many times people feel pressure to go in a certain direction, to follow in footsteps. I never felt that pressure. Whatever it was, he just wanted to be all in and to do it with complete integrity.
Wow. Yeah. And, integrity and effort are two things that you can control,
That's
right?
right.
Of all the variables that go around you. And we can't always control what happens to us, but at least we can control the effort we apply and the integrity in which we apply it. Um, you know, as you grew up, the way he explained that to you through questioning, it almost led you to come up with your own answers, right? Like it almost led you to, yeah, that was my idea. I do want to be on, on the PGA tour. And so I do choose to stay here and do the things that I do versus somebody, just talking down to you and saying, no, you're not going. Right. And that's it. And that's final. And it's a whole different approach. Right. And so the approach we take with kids these days, and well, just at any point, it's so important because it lasts all the way through adulthood.
Absolutely. And that approach is probably more powerful today than it's ever been, with the situation that's going on in business and the remote workforce. So many people now they're working from home. It's either mandated or, they're very rarely going into the office. And that's required, what I see is a huge change in the right direction as far as how we lead other people and how we lead ourselves. When
Correct.
you think about it, if you're working from home now and your leader is on a Zoom call, like this, telling you what to do, that's not very inspiring. And if you're highly productive, you're going to find a leader who's going to inspire you. Instead, a great leader via remote working is going to ask each person on the team, hey, you know what? What is it you want to achieve in life? What's your big dream? What's your goal? Where do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And through that questioning, that's more of a coach. We call it a coach style. It's collaborative, it's growth oriented, but it really all goes back to mindset. So I can take that same simple lesson of mindset and ask myself, I might be a freelancer, I might be my own business owner and I'm working from home now. And so I don't have the rigid schedule that was my habit before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to ask myself, what is it that I want to create in my life? And once I identify that, then that will inform how I organize my day, when I go to work, when I do the things that I do. And so that little lesson is, a college kid, about to really tackle big decisions in life. Dad just saying, look, I know what your goal is what you're about to do going to take you closer to or further from it. Just a simple question
Mm-hmm.
that we can apply everywhere.
Right. And having the ownership and accountability over your results, it's so empowering, right? When especially when your leaders create that ownership and accountability in you and they say, I see what you're capable of and they believe in you. I was speaking to Bob Berg last week, and so he mentioned, hey, say hi to brother Tom for me. Right? I think you
Brother
guys.
Bob, shout out to Bob Berg, amazing individual, good friend.
That's right. And so I think you guys are like kindred spirits. And one of the things that I remember reading in his book was in the Go Giver, the leadership version, was how leaders uphold their people. They raise their people, right? And they believe in their people. And so when somebody believes in you and sees something in you that maybe you don't always see in yourself, that has a tremendous impact on your results, on how you show up and how, your attitude, how you build your habits that we'll talk about. And so that's incredibly important, I think, in terms of leadership, right?
Absolutely. And, just a great kind of go giver leader coach style question is if you lift someone up and you draw out of them what it is that they want to accomplish, what do they aspire to, where do they want to be in a year or 2 years, and they start dreaming, right? And then you say, wow, I want to support you in that. I want to help you get there. And then you ask them the questions, what do you need to do? What do you need to become? What do you need to learn? What activities do you need to, to accomplish on a daily basis in order to get there? And then that individual, they start, well, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this, right? They literally create their own plan. And then you get to ask that last question, which is a great go giver question is, hey, what a great plan. Is it okay if I'll hold you accountable to your plan?
Right. You can't say no to that. It's your plan.
It's their plan, right? And now we get to help grow and inspire and lead and serve, right? Because now if my position is how can I serve you to where you can get to your dream faster, that's a powerful relationship. I love to work around people who help me achieve my dreams.
Exactly, right. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? One of the things I teach with my clients in my online course called the Peak Performance Method is identifying that state of peak performance where you're firing on all cylinders. And we've all been there, right? Where we're just like in that zone and we're in the state of flow and everything is going right. And we've also been on the, on the bottom end of that. But if you're able to control your mindset and your thinking to level up in a consistent and sustainable way, then all the activities that align with that type of thinking just come naturally, right? And you start getting tremendous results. But it starts on the inside. Before you get a change on the outside, you got to change the way you think on the inside. And so, one of the things from the book was talking about inputs, outputs, and results, right? So that your dad made famous. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Dad said this: your input determines your outlook determines your output, and your output determines your outcome. So the number one lesson that I learned from Dad was we got to control our input.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the book, Choose to Win, the things that we talk about that create a balanced success, there's 7 areas: mental, spiritual, physical, family, financial, personal, and career. And I put mental first. I put it ahead of spiritual and ahead of physical. Not that I'm going to argue with somebody if they want to start with those,
Mm-hmm.
but this is what I believe. We have to think about what input we want that's going to get us to where we want to go. So that's the first choice. And so then we cheat, right? So if, okay, this is who I want to become, this is what I want to accomplish. It all starts with our character qualities, our spiritual qualities, which are character and integrity and love and faith and all those different things. So I choose the input that builds myself up as an individual capable of making good decisions. Our character and integrity is really the filter through which we make the tough decisions. And the better that filter is, the more we nurture that filter, the better decisions we're going to make along the way. But it starts with taking control of our mind and choosing to think through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything, it's like the fuel that then drives everything else. One of the things I hear from a lot of folks is they have difficulty in, let's say, removing negative people from their life, right? Because a lot of those sometimes negative people are family members or are close friends that, it's tough to then, how do you start balancing that? Because that's part of the input. What advice could you give to them in terms of managing who you spend time with, right? Because who you spend time with is who you become, similar to, right? And if we're trying to control inputs, how do we handle these types of situations?
Boy, this is a tough one. And there's really, there's 2 choices, 2 types of choices, I should say. Some of the people that we spend time with is totally optional. you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
they might be friends or quote friends or people we've known a long time, extended family that, we have really the choice to get with them or not get with them. That's all, we have an option. And so what do? Uh, we create we create a standard, and the standard is real simple. Is this relationship, is it mutually beneficial? Are they helping me and am I helping them?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's pretty easy. They don't take any of my thoughts seriously, and they just dump on me. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we can cut that one out right away. And then there are the relationships that aren't optional, right? It's the in-laws, it's the people that we're going to see on a regular basis. And so there's two kinds of negative input that I want to talk about. There's more than that, but there's 2 that I want to talk about now. One type of negative input is associated with a hurt, right? Or a wound. And sometimes in our family relationships, either intentionally or unintentionally, those who are close to us are the ones who've hurt us the most. And because of that, when they say something that recalls that thing, we have that big emotional response.
Right.
And studying mindset, and I'm a big fan of Dr. Carolyn Leaf. One of the things we got to do is we got to get detached from them. So how do you do that? Well, this is hard, but you forgive them,
Yeah.
not for their benefit, but for
yours. Yeah.
right. And so when you forgive someone, that takes away the power of that. And then you go in and you say, what did I learn from that relationship? And then this is what I tell people, and I'll ask everybody who's listening: have you ever been wrongly attacked or accused, or somebody's just been hard on you? You don't even know where it comes from. It could be a stranger, it could be a coworker or a friend or somebody who's really close, and they just come at you, and you're like, where'd that come from? So
Yeah.
here's my mental thought: would a secure person do that? And the answer is no.
That's right.
Right? They just wouldn't. And so immediately my attitude shifts to, oh, they're insecure. Well, I have a different, it's the problems with them. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that allows me to keep an even keel. And, at that point, they're not emotionally tapped in. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? There's nothing I can do about this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? And if it continues, I just remove myself from that conversation. I'm like, I wish I could help you. And right now on social media, we see this all the time, right? Somebody posts a comment or repost a meme or something, and then they just get hammered. And you know, it probably doesn't have anything to do with you,
Yeah.
right?
And to your dad's point, what is this leading you towards, right? Is it leading you towards something good, something positive, constructive, or not? And if it's not, then choose to either eliminate it or move away from it and focus on other things, right? Because we have to really be protective about what information we're letting in.
Now, my sister Julie, she talks about it in her book, Growing Up Ziglar, and she talked about in her marriage, she was going to my mom and saying some negative things about her husband, right? And after the third time, mom looked at my sister and said, you know what? Unless you take action and do some of the things that I've suggested, we just can't have any more discussions about that. Right?
Wow.
Now that's a pretty harsh line, but the reality is you probably shouldn't be talking to your inner family about a marriage challenge in the first place, right?
Correct.
Because that, but we can use that same principle with other people who come in and drain over and over again, and we say, hey, you know what? Why don't you go see a coach? Why don't you go see a counselor? Why don't you talk to your supervisor? And then they bring it to you again and they say, blah, 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 blah. Can you believe what happened? Did you talk to any? No. I'm sorry, we can't talk about it anymore
Yeah.
because I can't help you unless you're willing to take some action.
Right.
Right. And so that's part of it. So, and then the other question is, who do we have the most obligation to? It's ourselves, it's our spouse, it's our
Hmm.
kids. And at that point, is the relationship that you have and that negative thing that's coming in, is it causing any hindrance or holding you back in your own growth and development and the relationships that mean the most to you? And if it is, you got to look hard at that. You got to draw a boundary. And
Exactly.
that's what some people need to grow.
Absolutely. Hey, so we're on with Tom Ziglar, CEO of Ziglar Inc., son of Zig Ziglar, and author of Choose to Win, as well as a renowned speaker. He's spoken at Harvard, Cambridge, a number of companies around the world, just imparting the wisdom and knowledge about how to be successful in life. Um, one of the things you shared in your book was a talk that you had in Australia, and somebody asked you, what's that, secret to success, right? That one thing that'll lead you to success. And it's a simple but profound comment, right? So tell me about breaking bad habits and starting new ones and the importance of that.
Yeah. So this is, I'm speaking there, and it was a great group. It was around 100 or so business owners and real estate investors. So a pretty sophisticated, mature group, successful. And it was an all day event. And so we're going to a break, and I love questions. And so I said, anybody got a question? This guy raised his hand, and he asked the question in a way I'd never heard it. He said, Tom, what is the fastest way to success? Most people want the three keys to success, or what do successful people do? But he wanted the fastest way. And just out of my mouth blurted, the fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And we went to break, and we came back, and the host, his name is
That's
Steve.
it.
I'm sitting at the side of the room. He's welcomed people back in the room. He's about to bring me up for the next session. And he says, hey, before I bring Tom up, did you hear what Tom said? Tom said the fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And I looked at him, and I got my pen out, and I wrote it down. That was good. And then that night when we were done, I went and researched it and Googled it to see if somebody else had said that, because it was just so simple. And then I started studying. I spent a couple of years studying that and applying that to every area of life. The 7 that we talked about: mental, spiritual, physical, family, financial, personal, and career. And here's the reality. Once you identify what it is you want to accomplish, where you want to go, what your dreams and objectives are, and let's just say balance success is one of them. And so you could look at your physical life, and you could say, this is how simple it is. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rate myself? Is my stress level right? Am I healthy? Do I get plenty of sleep? Do I have freedom of movement? Am I in good shape? You just start asking all those questions. And let's just say you go, wow, I give myself a 6 out of 10. Well, then you ask this: what's something that's bad that's holding me back from being a 10? And what's something that's good that could help me get there? And so for a lot of people, this is real simple. It could be that you like soft drinks that have sugar in them. Did you know that if you replace one soft drink a day, which is a bad habit, with one bottle of water a day, which is a good habit, everything else stays the same, you're going to lose 17 pounds in the year.
Wow.
That's it. And you're going to consume 44 pounds less sugar.
40.
That's like such an amazing little thing. And so we actually focus on little bitty bad habits. Let's put those in, and let's take in little bitty, or let's get rid of those, and let's put in little bitty good habits. So another one is, how do you start your day? Some people just wake up, get the coffee, and the day happens to them.
Right.
Right. What if you happen to the day? What if you said, you know what, the first 10 minutes of the day is going to be hyper productive. I'm going to get my mindset right. I'm going to do this. Just 10 minutes. Maybe you get your schedule, you look at some goals, you think about some calls you got to make, you look at your calendar, you put a game plan. 10 minutes. It's a totally different thing. And then you add to it. So that kind of builds. And so that's what that bad habit, get rid of the bad habit, replace it with the good habit. It works in every area.
Yeah. And one of the books I always recommend to my clients is the 5-minute journal, just because it's a very simplistic way to just say, what are the top 3 things that would make today great? 3 things that you're grateful for, and an affirmation, right, in the morning. And then at the nighttime, you recap and you say, okay, what 3 things went great today? So you're celebrating your wins, your successes, and you're building yourself up. Self-talk is a huge issue, right? With a lot of people. I think the person that we listen to most is ourselves, right? 24 hours a day, the chatter's going. And one of the things I like to talk about is that we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Each of those thoughts either productive and constructive or hold you back, right? And how full are these different buckets? And if you start really thinking them and watching, observing your thoughts and what you're thinking about, that's the first step in really starting to make a change into these habits, right? And getting, stop digging, right? Stop digging the hole if you find yourself digging, start building the ladder that you talk about.
Absolutely. I was one of our Ziglar Legacy speakers and trainers. His name is Stain Rousseau, and he's from South Africa. He's kind of a brain coach. So I was talking to him, and I said, what's an affirmation or a self-talk that I could use, real simple, to get in better shape? And I'd heard this before years ago, but he reminded me. He said, well, just say 100 times a day this: I'm getting fitter and fitter every day in every way. I mean, literally, you can say that phrase 20 times in 10
Yeah,
seconds, right?
right.
So I'm just like, well, I'm going to do it. So I started doing it. And I've grown up in this, right? And so, knowing it and doing it and all those things, they don't always track hand in hand. So I start doing it. And then, Sergio, 3 weeks later, I am at the mall, and I get up in my parking spot and I'm walking in, and then I stop in the middle of the parking lot and I look back at my car, and there are literally 20 spaces between my car that are empty and the front door. Now, every time I go to the mall, I'm like a vulture, right? I'm trying to find the closest parking lot or
Right,
spot
right.
to the door. And there I parked way out in the middle of the parking lot. And I'm thinking, what just happened? And then I realized it was the self-talk. Okay.
Hmm.
So we all know this. We've all heard this. Hey, if you burn just a few extra calories every single day, that's a little good habit. Eventually that'll pay off in losing pounds. And so I've read 100 times. Yeah, walk the stairs instead of the elevator, park a little further from the door.
Hmm.
This was the first time I'd ever done it. And it wasn't conscious. What had happened is I told my mind that so many times that now my brain is looking for ways to get a little fitter,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
And so I pull in
Replace.
and I'm like, hey, this is a spot. And I'm walking in and I'm like, that works.
It absolutely works. It absolutely works. You're reprogramming essentially, right?
Yeah.
Your mind's very smart. It's just trying to lead you towards that replacement picture. So as we wrap up here, one of the things that I find the most effective in helping people reach their goals and what I recommend is an accountability partner, excuse me, or a coach. That's incredibly important. I have a mastermind group myself, and I have another mastermind that's led by a good friend of mine. It's almost like going to church for me because I come out of there refreshed, re-energized. We hold each other accountable because as adults, you don't always have somebody to hold you accountable, and it makes a huge difference. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my very close friends, and who wants to lose weight, right? But it's just like, well, I have too many meetings. I'll get there, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, this is at 10 a.m. So I said, all right, today at the top of every hour, we're going to do 10 push-ups and we're going to check in with each other just to make sure we do them. Right. And so by the end of the day, he had done 80 push-ups, through, let's say, 7 o'clock. And, he had never done probably 80 push-ups, in years. Right. And especially not in one day. So having that accountability is really effective in helping people, encourage people. And so tell me a little bit about, that accountability partner relationship.
Yeah. We have a goal setting system that we teach. We've been teaching it for years. It might be the most copied goal setting system out there.
Wow.
And it's an amazing thing. But here is the shortcut, right? So if somebody, what's the difference between a goal setter and a goal achiever? I want to be a goal achiever. Goal achievers do three things. This is it. I mean, this is all you got to remember. They write the goal down in detail. I mean, they explore it, they write it out, they look at the obstacles, the skills they need to know. They put the plan in place, they understand the benefits, they have a deadline, they've got all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Second is they work on it every day or as often as necessary. Well, what does that mean? It means that every day they're looking at it, and they
Mhm.
either look at it and they take some action on it, or they look at it knowing, like, maybe your goal is to work out 5 days a week. So you look at it 7 days a week. Okay, I've got 3 days in, I got two more, I got 3 days left in the week. I'm going to get this done.
Mhm.
The third one is an accountability partner.
There you go.
That's it. So goal achievers, that's what they do. They identify what they want in detail. They review it every single day, and then they have an accountability partner. And so what is an accountability partner? It is somebody who wants you to succeed for your benefit. It's somebody who loves you enough to hold you accountable. And
Mhm.
so to me, I love people who go out and get a coach. There's no better accountability partner than a coach.
That's
Why?
right.
Because you're investing in it, right? And a coach will tell you what you need to hear and the way you need to hear it. That's what
That's
a
right.
coach does.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about Ziglar Inc. What are you guys up to right now? What are the things that are going on that you want to share with everyone?
Sure. You know what? We are incredibly blessed. We, our business, we're about legacy. So we're about carrying on the Ziglar legacy. And we do that in a couple of ways. We certify people to teach and speak on our programs. We've also created a coaching system for the Choose to Win book. So people come to us and we teach them and equip them
Nice.
with a coaching process and a support system, and we license them to go and teach it. And those things right there have really propelled us. So our whole mission is to help people uh, transform, to encourage, to equip, and support other people so they can go change the world. And the people who we're really focused on working with are people who are building a legacy intentionally. So we call it legacy by design. And then
Okay.
coaches, speakers, and trainers. That's who we work with. We're also, because of Zoom and the pandemic, we reach all over the world. We've got over 5 million fans on Facebook, and
Wow.
because of that, uh, the amount of webinars and things that we do, we're always putting value and information out there. Just in the last couple of months, I've written a couple of ebooks that are free that you can get at Ziglar.com. One is on mindset, and one is on leading and inspiring a remote workforce.
Wow. Two key areas right now that are so important to everybody. Tom, congratulations on your success, on your father's success, and your family's success. And thank you so much for continuing the legacy, continuing to impart this information because it's so important and so critical to so many people. And you had such an impact on so many folks around the world. So thank you so much for being on Game Changers.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good one, guys. And oh, by the way, where can they reach you if they wanted to reach out to you?
At Ziglar.com is our website, and they can reach me. This is kind of weird. I actually give my email, Tom at Ziglar.com.
Very
So,
easy to remember.
yeah, just
Tom
Tom
at
at Ziglar.com.
Ziglar.com.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Fantastic, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that out there on Facebook Live, on Game Changers Live, and we'll be on next week as well. So take care and all the best.